Good afternoon. Today is February 9th, 2011, and you're with Carolina Considered at Chester State Park. Who are we talking with today?
John Wells, manager at Chester State Park.
Well, thank you for your time today, Mr. Wells. I know you're busy as a one-armed paper hanger here, and I wonder if we can begin with a little personal information, as we often do, such as where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Darlington, South Carolina.
Darlington, that is a great place. How was Darlington as a place for a young fellow to grow up?
I had a great time, and we kind of joke about it, some of my friends back home. You don't really think about turning your kids loose in town anymore. Well, that's the kind of childhood we had. We grew up, there was about 10 or 15 kids on my street in downtown Darlington, and we'd ride the bicycles until the street lights came on every day.
So you were a city boy or a town boy rather than a country boy, I guess.
Grew up in the town of Darlington, but pretty much every other weekend I was at my grandmother's farm in Bishopville, South Carolina, with some cousins out there playing around the cow ponds with the BB guns and fishing poles.
Oh, that sounds great. So you did have some outdoor activities there in Darlington.
Yes, sir. And in Darlington itself, we have a couple city parks and a lot of outdoor recreation. The recreation department I work with, playing Little League sports and actually working with them too. So.
Oh, you worked part-time for them while you were in high school?
Yes, sir. I worked part-time for Darlington City Rec Department, and I've also done some city park jobs in college at other cities in South Carolina.
Well, that's a different experience, isn't it? The city level and county level must be quite a bit different from the state level.
Absolutely, and working with those groups and also doing volunteer with different civic organizations too. Did a lot of work in city and county parks.
Darlington is such a nice place to visit. I, of course, don't know what it's like to grow up in, but your description makes it appealing.
It's a neat little town. You say you're in the city, but it's Darlington. It's still rural South Carolina, and just outside of town you have creeks and swamps and all kinds of wilderness to get into out there.
Well, it doesn't get better than that. How about your college? Where did you go to college?
Clemson University.
Well, there are a few of you folks in the Park Service have been to Clemson University.
Yes, sir.
And what was your major?
Majored in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Management, and got a minor in Forestry.
What is that Clemson program all about? How do they train you, in other words?
That's a hard question to answer because basically they gave you a broad sense of what you might need. They gave you the tools to work with to get out in the job and actually learn what you're going to be doing. Every job is different. Every park is different. And they understood this at Clemson, and they would give you the tools of broad stuff about classes on policy, classes on general landscape type of architecture, design, dealing with erosion controls, and business. Some dealings with the actual business of running parks in a very broad sense, because they knew once you got in the real world, everybody's going to train you to what that individual park needs. You
know, that's something I've found folks don't realize. These parks are, each and every one of them, are big businesses.
Very much so. It is a business.
And so you have to learn how to use a spreadsheet.
Oh, yes, sir. Spreadsheet. You have to learn all those office programs, PowerPoint.
PowerPoint too.
Yes, sir. We have to go and do presentations to our own people and to outside organizations as well, just to explain what we're doing on the park and how we're progressing.
And Clemson, I suppose, was a beginning for that.
Yes, sir. I didn't start out at Clemson for Parks and Rec and Tourism.
Really?
I started out in computer science. It was the late 90s. Computers were big. And so I went to Clemson with the idea of computer science. And the first year I was there for computer science. And that was a rough first year. And I got to looking around saying, I got to do something different. I can't sit at a cubicle the rest of my life. And got to thinking, I always wanted to be a park ranger when I was a kid. I grew up camping in Boy Scouts and whatnot, going to Cheraw State Park and Lee State Park. Got out the course guide and found PRT at Clemson, and that's the way I've gone and been that way ever since.